All right, everybody. So we're live, and you'll notice I'm not wearing my glasses. I'm trying something different. I normally don't wear glasses out. It's usually just when I'm sitting in front of my computer screen or reading something. Thought I'd do something different. We have a lot to talk about, and I waited a little bit before doing this. I thought about doing a couple lives to talk about the initiatives of the 50-year mortgage and what that means, and do I think it's a good thing or a bad thing? And I wanted to really give some time for some perspective. We're going to talk about that today. Let's go ahead and get started. My name is Stephen Meade with Domicile Real Estate. We are on a mission to help California's renters become homeowners. Obviously, affordability is a big part of that. This is our SoCal first-time buyer housing market update. It is for November 12th, 2025. That's today. And let's just take a second on the 50-year mortgages. I think people are very quick to jump to conclusions, and I think they're missing really the big picture on this. And, the quick judgment, right, is that this is a silly thing and it's a bad idea. And, I actually have probably more mixed feelings in that. I think giving buyers more options on how to afford homes generally is a good thing. I think I'd rather have more options, especially if you have people with knowledge giving advice on those options, right? And by the way, there's a lot of options out there. We still have interest-only mortgages that are interest-only for a certain period of time. Those still exist in the marketplace. We have adjustable rate mortgages. We have rate buy-downs, right, that keep the rate low in the beginning and then ratchet up over time. And so we have a lot of options out there. I think a 50-year mortgage is just be another one of those options, right? Now, I will say this. I don't think it's the right option for that many people. I don't think it actually solves very much of a problem. And I think the big picture part of this, what I think a lot of people are really missing in this analysis is that these measures, not only do they not really do anything to help affordability in the long run, or not very much, I think they actually make affordability worse. And let me give an example. Most people who are watching this, if you are a first-time buyer out in the marketplace, or if you're somebody who'd like to own a home and you've given some thought to this, what do you think would happen if, for example, interest rates went to 3% tomorrow, right? I mean, that'd be, oh my gosh, great for affordability. Rates have dropped. What do you think would happen to home prices if rates were suddenly 3% tomorrow? Do you think they go up or do you think they go down? I'm pretty sure they'd go up, and that would eat into quite a bit of those monthly payment savings that 3% mortgage would give you. And I think the problem with this is this will essentially do exactly the same thing. I don't think you'll get the whole benefit, which everybody else has done the math on that. It's like $100 to $200 a month. It's not a huge difference for people. And I think that would get eaten up in higher prices pretty quickly. So I don't think this would be effective. And the reason it isn't really effective is because all of this is really a shell game, or probably my favorite phrase on the planet is rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Affordability is much more complicated than what people's payments are. And the biggest problem is we have two huge problems that until these are addressed, we're not going to really have any relief on affordability. Problem number one is we simply don't have enough houses in California. And it doesn't matter what you do with mortgage payments or how you arrange things. If you have, say, 1,000 people that needs houses and you only have 950 houses, that's going to cause problems for affordability, right? The market is going to equalize until only 950 people can afford houses. That's just the way it works. So those other 50 people are going to be, out of luck, right? The second problem that you have with this is we have the wrong types of homes for sale. So we don't actually have the right mix of properties. One of the things people in affordability circles talk about a lot is this notion of that entry rung on the property ladder. What's that first rung on the property ladder? And so right now, because of the way building costs are, because of a lot of things, there's really not an incentive to build entry-level housing. There's also not a lot of incentive for people who have entry-level housing in California to sell entry-level housing. They tend to make that entry-level housing rentals if they can, because it makes a lot of financial sense because of their lowered property tax basis and possibly a very low mortgage rate that they have on that property. So functionally, not only are there not enough homes available, we just don't have enough. I mean, we're still running a shortage of gosh, probably between 500 and 800,000 units statewide. We just need more housing units for people to live in. But we also have the wrong types of housing for sale. Like, for example, we have a lot more availability at the very high end than we need, and we don't have enough availability at the very low end that we need. So, not enough units and not the right units for sale. And until those two problems are addressed, it doesn't really matter what you do with mortgages. It's not going to really make that big of a difference, I don't think. I mean, maybe on the fringes, there might be an additional couple of percent of people who can now buy a house who couldn't before. And not to discount that, right? I mean, that still is important, but it's not really solving our issue. So now I'd like to get started. We're going to run through our normal stats. And one of the things that is apparent is really just that condo single family home divide. I mean, it's still really present. And I would tell you, if you're a buyer out there, of course, most people would prefer to buy a single family home as their first residence. And I still recommend that if you can. But there are some great opportunities in condo land. And alternatively, for investors out there, if first time buyers aren't picking up the condos, you definitely should be. So let's go ahead and get started. I will show you exactly what I mean and what I'm talking about. Okay, so if we look here at our closed prices, remember this is looking in the rearview mirror, you see we actually have a pretty strong pricing sense on those entry-level single-family homes. So if you were out there looking, you've noticed that market seems more competitive. It is. It is not your imagination. But over here, we've got continued weakness on that condo front. And so, whenever I see these spreading like this, right, at some point, it makes more sense to buy the condo. I think we are at that point where it is worth sort of some of the negatives that come with that. By the way, condo video will be dropping soon. I have recorded a great conversation with the owner of an association management company that manages over 250 HOAs. We have a great discussion about HOAs and condos, so stay tuned. That's coming up. Total monthly payment. Again, we see this divergence, right? We're back up over $6,500 a month here on our entry-level single-family home in LA and Orange County, and we are almost going to cross that threshold to be below $4,000 on that entry-level condo, right? I don't know if you've looked at rents lately, but this isn't that far off from renting something here in Southern California. So definitely bear that in mind. If we look at our minimum household income required, it has dropped below $100,000 of household income. That means two people, earning basically the minimum amount in a salary job, they can make this work as an entry-level condo, which I think is really wonderful news if you're out there. And then we're back up over a little over $156,000 for our entry-level single-family home. So, I mean, this spread is really wide right now. If we look here at our 14-day absorption rate, we see some normal fluctuations, but gosh, look at how different the single family and the condo lines still are in this. I mean, the condo line has dropped to 55%. I mean, that is definitely a buyer's market. We are still at 80% for those entry-level single-family homes, and that is very much a seller's market. So, it's not often that we have these markets so flipped like this, where one is a buyer's market and one is a seller's market. So, again, take heed. This is important. Total inventory, again, another bit of a shocking chart. I want you to look back 1 year ago and look at the difference in inventory between entry-level condos and entry-level single-family homes, right? There were a lot more entry-level single-family homes than there were condos. Now look at where that is today and how that gap has narrowed considerably for number of active units, right? And in fact, I think there's a decent chance this number will actually cross, right? And that is something we really have not seen in our market. Again, take note, right? If you're out there as a first-time home buyer, I know the traditional advice is get a home, get a yard, get all these things. And while that is still in a lot of ways preferable, the finances are shifting here to where it might make a lot of sense to go in the other direction. We look at our 14-day still active percent. Again, a lower number means a more competitive market. These entry-level single-family homes, right? These have been performing pretty well. We're really at a point that is in line with where we were back in the spring. You're seeing a competitive market, whereas condos, it is the opposite, right? That is a less competitive market than we have seen almost all year. Now, finally, if we look at our week supply of homes, I think this one really sort of tells all here. This is relative demand. So this says if no new homes came on the market, how long at our current rate before we ran out of houses to sell? And you'll see down here, we're at 9 weeks, which is lower than where we were at last year for entry level single family homes. And for condos, we are at almost 20 weeks, or about a third higher than we were at this point last year. And you can see it's a steady, climb since the beginning of this year. So, when you look at these numbers again, right, I'm one of those people that when everyone's running away from something, I think maybe now that's the time to run in that direction. And so, my advice again, if you're an entry level buyer, maybe you had your heart set on that single family home, but guess what? Condos are on sale and single family homes are not right now. So bear that in mind. That's actually all I have for you guys this week. As always, I thank you guys for watching, commenting, liking, subscribing, doing all that. Obviously, if you or someone you think should be a first-time homeowner here in California, or any kind of homeowner actually in California, definitely reach out to us. We'd love to lend you our expertise. I mean, this is our profession. This is what we do all day long. It's giving advice and helping our clients make the best decisions they can, right? Not only for the short term, but also evaluating their long-term goals. Again, thank you so much. We'll see you again real soon.